the Team Performance Podcast with Spencer Horn and Christian Napier. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Team Performance Winning Ways for Uncertain Times podcast. I'm Christian Napier, and I'm joined, as always, by my partner in, I don't want to say crime because it's not crime, but my partner in success. Let's frame it that way. Spencer Horn. Spencer, how are you?
I'm good, Christian. So excited to be with you. We skipped a week last week, and I missed you so much.
Well, it looks like you were having an amazing time wherever you were. I could see some really nice pictures there on Facebook and stuff. What were you up to last week?
We had our family reunion. It's been about 14 months since the last one, but I have 5 children, and then 3 of them are married and all their kids, and we do our best to get together once a year. But this year we went up to Flaming Gorge in Utah, which is just gorgeous. It's on the north slope of the Uinta Mountains, Ashley Forest, and Flaming Gorge is an amazing resort. And we camped. I mean, I'm talking tent camping and logistics for 15 people. It takes like a day just to load up all that, and months of planning. It was pretty amazing. But and we get there, and 2 of our tent poles had fallen out. This is in 40 years. This tent has never failed us, and it's the spring bar tent that is amazing. It's 40 years old, and it is in stellar condition. But 2 poles were missing, and we couldn't use it. So Jana, my wife, and I basically slept out under the stars for 4 nights. And it's pretty amazing. It's funny because, there's of course a lot of bugs when you're out there. And one of the benefits of being in the tent is you don't get the bugs. And so you have to spray your face. And then, the kids said, well, put the spray around your sleeping bag. And my wife had this nice big cot, so the bugs wouldn't crawl up on her or anything like that. But I'm on the ground, and those bugs did not respect my line that I sprayed. They just walked right over it.
Well, that's just inexcusable. Those bugs, they have no respect for humanity. They just walk all over you. Well, you're in their turf, right?
That's right. But we had a blast. I mean, we saw all kinds of animals. We went fishing. We caught fish. We went kayaking. We went ATV and 4-wheeling. And then we spent the last 3 days in Deer Valley, Park City, up by Stein Eriksen Lodge. We've got this beautiful home on Airbnb, and we just wanted to pamper ourselves and shower and hot tub, to recover from the 4 days out in the wilderness there. And there was nobody out there. I mean, we had this entire campground to ourselves. It was right before the 24th of July, and we left right on the 24th. So maybe people were showing up, but it was fantastic. Thanks for asking. That's what we did. Lots of great food, camp food.
Oh yeah. Do you Dutch oven?
We Dutch oven. We made jambalaya in the Dutch oven. I made peach cobbler in the Dutch oven. We made lots of stuff. I mean, great. We had some good food. We even did the slumming. We did hot dogs on a stick with wrapped them with bread. So you roasted all the bread on the stick. We had some fun with that.
Well, it sounds amazing. And then you come back to reality.
Yeah, back to work. But I get to be with you and our guest today.
Well, speaking of our guest, I'm super excited for you to introduce her. Spencer, why don't you introduce our guest this week?
Thank you so much. I'm excited to introduce to you today Theresa Nordstrom. And Theresa, I just met you recently. And it's been, I think, about a month or so we met. And I was so impressed with her energy, what she does, how she does it, her approach. And, as we talk about team performance, you got to have the best people possible. And Theresa's expertise is really in innovating HR practices and recruiting. And she has over 20 years of experience in hiring talent for top tier organizations. I'm going to stick with your pro. Let me read a little bit of your bio, because I think it's very, very impressive. But she has over 20 years of experience as an executive recruiter and candidate attraction specialist. And she uses creative methods to help hiring leaders and executives enrich their organizations by attracting top talents, which we need to have in all of our organizations. And she has a mission to guide these leaders into getting out of their own way and transform the way they recruit. And we're going to ask her a little bit about that. And she has this grand vision. As a matter of fact, I'm going to ask her about this first. Her grand vision is to transform the HR industry as a whole with every client she works with. And to me, that's music to my ears, because I often find that, no offense to any of you who are HR experts out there, but typically HR is the Department of Business Prevention, right? I mean, they're there to to make sure that, all the risk is mitigated. And so sometimes, there's this battle there. And when it comes to hiring, they get in their own way a lot. And Theresa's going to talk about what not to do. And in her years of helping CEOs and executives recruit talent, you've seen it all. I mean, Theresa, you're going to tell some of your fun stories. And, some of the roles that companies have that seem cursed, that you can't seem to fix, she helps them do that and reduce the turnover that costs millions of dollars. It's so expensive to replace people, which is one of the reasons why team performance and culture is so important. We'll get into that. And she has experience working with big box retail, construction, food manufacturing, technology, and startups. And you've worked in a variety of industries. You even worked in a tech startup that you helped grow to be sold for, I think, $80 million or something like that. It was one of the top 20% fastest growing companies in the United States. And then it was acquired.
The Team Performance Podcast.
And you started your own business the same year I started mine in 2015, right, Theresa?
I guess I didn't know that was the same year, but yes.
When did you start in 2015?
What month?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like the first week of December. So yes, of 2015.
Oh my, yeah. So my 5-year anniversary is on Monday. No, Sunday.
Oh, okay.
It's the 1st of August. That's Sunday.
Awesome. Okay.
Yeah, but anyway, so we're so excited to hear from how you help companies fix their hiring problems. But I want to start with, so you are an HR practitioner.
Yes.
I mean, you're a member of the community, and so you're speaking from the inside and not like an outsider like me that's casting aspersions, right?
Sure.
When you say you want to transform HR, what do you mean? What's the problem, in your opinion?
Yeah. So, honestly, so really, I am focused on talent acquisition in the recruiting department. But I will go outside of that if I need to, especially with smaller companies. But, one of the things, it's really coming to a head right now. I mean, on LinkedIn, if you go there, so many candidates are frustrated. And actually, last year, when I was talking to clients, business partners are frustrated. They're frustrated with their HR departments. But, right now, recruiting actually hasn't changed a ton since, honestly, the 1990s. I mean, they're regurgitating job descriptions, and they've over-engineered the recruiting department, right? So they post job descriptions through what we call an applicant tracking system in ATS. They spit out these job descriptions, on the web, and then recruiters handle anywhere, honestly, minimum of 20 jobs up to literally sometimes 80 jobs. And right now, that is way too many for them to effectively source a job. And so, people want to be recruited with respect, one thing, but we want to have a quick process. And companies, recruiters really should be marketers. And a lot of people are talking about recruitment marketing. I don't know about you, but if you actually go out and look at Indeed or any of the top recruiting sites, you don't see any marketing in recruiting. And so I am really trying to revolutionize at least the companies I work with and have recruiting be about marketing their jobs. And so that you can actually tell the story of a position and speak to candidates. And that's what I really do is, one, I tell the story of the role of the company. So you start attracting the right talent, to the candidates. And so one, it's about attracting, and here's the key, about detracting the right candidates. And
this is so important. So what you're doing basically is you're baiting your hook to find the right people and repelling the wrong people. Because what I heard you say, and I see the same thing with HR experts, is you put a job description out there, right? And they have to put all these disclaimers. It's just this many years of experience, and it's basically the job description bullet point. And people are looking at that blah, blah, blah. And so people are blindly and automatically responding to that ad, and you're getting everybody. So you get 100 applicants, and the HR people have to actually, they have to sort through all the chaff.
Yeah. And here's the deal. Actually, recently there is so many people complaining on LinkedIn about it. So one, you have candidates complaining. Secondly, you have recruiters complaining about, oh my gosh, all these applicants are applying and they're applying for jobs that they're not qualified. Yes, because one, you're not articulating the job appropriately because I'm going to say too lazy, but you're not taking the time up front to truly understand what you're recruiting, and you're not telling the story appropriately. And the candidates, you know what? They're just like, oh my God, I need a job, right? And then thirdly, the hiring leaders are so freaking frustrated because they're not getting the right talent. That, you know what they're doing? I actually have a CFO friend that says, Theresa, it's just easier to call you, and she'll pay me $30,000 to find her $100,000 person, right? So, it's honestly, it's an entire system fail. And, there's not just one easy answer to it. There's a lot of things there's a lot of things that need to be fixed within there, but it's not rocket science, honestly. It's really, really not. And I believe there are ways that can, you can change several different factors within there. One, we can understand the roles up front. We can then tell the story better. And we still need to use recruiters sometimes, but I believe that we're not being stewards of the business. I think we are business problem solvers. And right now we're being checklist HR people. And, honestly, I don't think CEOs and business leaders, I think they're settling. They're settling for mediocre practices, and there's so much better we can do. And darn it, I want to show them what more they can have.
Yeah. And so why do you think they settle?
They haven't seen better. When they really haven't. And so, I helped sell that. It was we were the third fastest growing in Nebraska, top 20% in the country. And, my CEO actually had to kind of be forced to hire me because his controller at the time had worked with me at a prior company. And she's like, you got to hire higher level HR. So they brought me in. We saved, honestly, this company was only 13 million. And we were on track to spend $1 million in recruiting fees, a $13 million company in 1 year.
Oh my goodness.
I know. That's a lot. We spent $40,000 in 2 years after that.
Well, that's a much better CEO would have been very, very happy.
So here's the
salary that they hired you for.
But so I'm kind of like, but I think, and now is that always going to happen? No, but I truly believe that so many, especially small middle market companies, they don't realize that, I can hire $55,000 HR kind of benefits person. But if you spend a little bit more money and, hire someone at a little bit higher level that knew how to truly source and it could be mentored at a different level, there's so many more things that individual could do. They don't know what they don't know. And they're too afraid to invest in that HR person. And honestly, here's the other deal. How many HR professionals do you know? And like I said, I'm an HR professional. There are not many HR professionals that are great at recruiting. You know what they want to do? Recruiting? Wait, that's recruiting over there. I'm just going to call the recruiter.
The Team Performance Podcast.
Which is one of the reasons I think they struggle because, you say they don't know better, but I think a lot of them are overwhelmed because some of them are over their heads. And, the work of HR never ends. To be fair, they have so much on their plates. And when we have to replace somebody, that means now we're down a person or we're going to be down a person. So everybody has to fill that gap, right? So not only are we now having to do more work, but the work that it takes to hire and go through all that on top of everything they have to do, it can be overwhelming. And so that's why they in my opinion, they want to just defer that to the recruiting.
Here's the deal. There is so much HR talent out there. I am telling you, the pool of HR talent, even last year in the talent war, is out there. And they are settling. I guarantee you. I've been I was head of HR for a construction company, one of the top, they were a top 40 electrical engineering construction company. They seldom use recruiters. And you know what? I developed a team of talent there. You have to have a visionary. And if you can train an HR person, the pool of talent is there. And you can reap the benefits of it. I just don't think they've seen it, and they're afraid to invest in it. But the value is there.
When we talk about that value, what is the impact? What is the impact of having an effective recruiting strategy versus having a mediocre strategy? What are the downstream impacts to the organization?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so there's several different things. I think, one of the things that, so the CEO that I work with at the startup at Renaissance and that, I mean, I think that, one thing is that we upgraded the entire leadership team. And so think about private equity companies, right? So many of them are saying that they are upgrading their HR teams because in order for them to sell their leadership and upgrading their leadership team, that's what strategic buyers are looking for, right? So I don't know, I can't give you a dollar, obviously, but when they are being looked at when people are looking at them to buy, the leadership teams are what they're looking at to buy. And having an HR leader who can assess and coach that leader team, it's priceless. And the current HR teams that a lot of them are buying can't do that. Here's another thing. Do you know we all? I have to be careful with this. The other thing, so you can cut this out. The other thing that I think that an HR leader who can operate at a different level is for those smaller companies, they are just checking the list. So one of the things is that one of the companies I was at, there were some decisions made that looked like they were daily, like, benefits and things. The contracts that were signed had impact on whether that company was going to be acquired. And the CEO of the new company that was acquiring was in on that contract on the last day before we acquired. That benefits contract literally had impact on whether that company was being acquired. So little things actually are making a big impact in benefits. So I think that the day in and day out stuff of things that look like they're checklist things have dramatic impact because of benefits have extreme costs. Even little things like we had people still on our benefits a year later that were not getting taken off because they weren't strategically and they weren't reviewing and looking at it from a they weren't looking at the financials, right? They weren't business owners. I was a steward of the business. Yeah. I wasn't just, okay, I'm getting payroll out every day.
So that's the difference between typical HR, an employee mentality and an owner mentality. And I think that's one of the things that makes you different. And it's interesting what you talked about, a company positioning themselves to sell, especially right now. VC, venture capital, they're buying up companies left and right because a lot of companies are struggling and they're wanting to buy them. But if I'm an investor and I'm looking at a company that we want to grow, does the executive team have the bandwidth to scale?
Yes.
Can they handle more? Can they grow? And if they don't have that, then the company has no value because that's the value of the company. It's not the bricks and mortar. Yeah. It's the people.
Yes. And I think, so to go on, Christian, the other things that come up are I help those leaders have crucial conversations. So we all know that some leaders that are able to help build a company to 10 million can't necessarily lead that company at 50 million and 100 million. A very, very common issue. And, those HR people need to be able to help have those conversations, those tough conversations, and not just be a bystander. And there were definitely some challenges in the company that I orchestrated. And I was the glue of in managing some very, very difficult conversations. And honestly, I was pivotal in bringing strategic plans together, because a lot of in this business and maybe other businesses, they are very good entrepreneurs. And and I'm speaking more of private companies or like startup companies, and I can speak to larger companies as well because I've been there, but they are entrepreneurs running different departments. I have been fortunate in my cases where I know how to build a strategic plan. I know how to build cross-functional teams. And, honestly, a great HR leader, you bring an HR leader that's been at a decent sized company. We do that because we are running departments that have, I had 1,000 people at some of my companies, right? I had 50 some, 60 some stores at Best Buy. I can bring a team together and help them run business plans. So, and they don't know how to do that in that size of company. They are used to running a business in a room. So I think there's so much value in even helping them run like cascading goals. I think that's another common issue with a small business is they don't know how to cascade goals. So I'm kind of focused on the smaller company right now, but those were some of the red flags and barriers that this company was having. We were scaling during Obamacare, because we were a system behind Obamacare.
So I have a question. Well, I guess a comment and a question.
Yeah.
So if I understand what you're saying correctly, companies can benefit greatly from having HR leadership that thinks strategically, not necessarily transactionally, which is what a lot of compensation benefits, payroll people,
Yes.
so that's kind of the core HR thing.
Yep.
And then that leads me to the question. Earlier, you said that from a recruitment perspective, your job is really to market the company.
Yep.
And that assumes that the company is worth marketing. In other words, you've got something tangible and sincere and authentic to sell to prospective hires.
Yep.
So from an HR perspective, how can you help shape the culture of the organization so that it actually becomes attractive and it becomes easy to sell to prospective hires?
Yeah. So a couple things. So first of all, the company doesn't have to be awesome and sexy. Obviously it is super easy to market a company that is like this awesome, cool, sexy startup. So a couple things. I think that one, so I'm going to start with that. I think every company has a story, and a lot of A players love a challenge. I was recruiting for a company that, let me just tell you, they were struggling. Their stock was challenged. Guess what though? A players love to fix things. And if you market that company in a way, they're like, oh my God, I want to go fix that, because they want to be the hero. And so one, it's all about the messaging. That's one thing. So I think that first of all, that's one thing that you can do. And so I think it's about messaging. So secondly, I think that there is, from a culture standpoint, as an HR leader, I would look at first, do we have some ultimate internal issues that we would address? And sometimes some companies have some people challenges that they may not want to address. I would probably challenge those head on. So I do think the best leaders would hire an HR leader that would help them challenge those sacred cows internally, right? So that's one thing.
The Team Performance Podcast.
When you say challenge those sacred cows, is that progressive discipline or sacrificing the cow?
It depends on the situation. one, I'd understand the situation, right? I'd understand the risks of the company. And, as an HR leader, it's not my decision, but I would definitely let the leader know what the risks are to that leader and the organization. Honestly, I would understand the situation, and I would help the leader understand the risk to the organization, and, individuals, and, potentially the life of the organization. And they'd have to make that decision. Wouldn't be my decision. I mean, ultimately, right? But I'd let them know the risk. And I've been in that situation before. So,
yeah, so have I.
Yeah. So with that though, I think, you understand those, but then, one, you decide, what are the things, short and long term that you can make an impact on, right? So going to a company, you understand that employees are really frustrated that they're not getting employee bonuses and they're working their butts off, and, you're going to have people at risk for leaving, and they're okay. Then what do we do about that? Okay, we talk about it. We put a plan in place. I'm very big about being transparent, and we put a plan in place with that type of thing. We talk to leaders about the communication plans, and there are leaders first, right? Get the right leader in place, and we start recruiting those right leaders, replace the leaders that are not maybe working. But I would start at the top with the leaders, with the CEO or whoever I may be working with on that. So, but yeah.
It's interesting talking about CEOs. So I do another podcast, which looks back at the Salt Lake 2002 Olympic Winter Games. And I just last week had a very long conversation with the head of human resources for those games, Ed Einen. And the impact that Mitt Romney had when he came on to work on the games was really, really substantial. And what you said reminded me of this, because you talked about type A people wanting a challenge. And that was a challenge because at that time, the organizing committee was $400 million in the red. Didn't look like they were going to be able to put on a games in the aftermath of an IOC scandal that had really rocked the organizing committee and caused a change in leadership. But he came in very early on and established this culture, and they created these guiding principles. And actually, it leads me to a question for you. Sometimes you see mission, vision, value statements or guiding principles that are oftentimes just things that are on the wall that nobody really pays attention to.
Yep.
But in the Salt Lake Organizing Committee, I can tell you personally that those guiding principles were actually important. And I was curious, from your standpoint, with so much experience in this realm, what is it that allows, something like guiding principles to actually become really important and ingrained in one company, whereas in another company, they may not be considered at all, or they'll be looked at a bit cynically?
Yeah. So I kind of laugh at it because I just did a video not too long ago, and it was like something about lame values. Like I said, quit using lame values. And over 50% of Fortune 500 companies have integrity as one of their top values. Well, I think integrity should be honestly just a price of admission, right? So one is, I think they need to be very well described. Like, if you are going to use integrity, like what are actual behaviors? So that is one of the first things that you need to do is like what does it look like and feel like in the company? Like, can you actually tell? One of the, actually, I'm looking around my office here because I actually have ours that I created at one of our companies here, but it's like, puts the company first, assumes positive intent. So I think, first of all, actions do speak louder than words, and they do need to be lived. I think employees need to be evaluated on them. And you know what? A great example is that if your best salesperson or your best developer abuses one of them, you need to act on it. So at one of the companies I was at, actually it was Best Buy, I can remember a day where we were at, we had big sales events, and one of our best sales people did something when we were on a big event. And we came out of a break and that guy was no longer there. And, we acted on behaviors that were out of line. And so I think leaders need to obviously live and breathe by them. But I think the description, so they have to be like, actual actionable. I think another thing is that like they need to stand out. Like, so one of the things about me, I'm not a generic person. Like, don't go with I'm just personally not the person that's like, let's go with customer focus, loyalty, and integrity. Well, what the heck does that mean, right?
Right. How do you embody those principles here and make it? You can't. It has to be you, because if not, then people they dismiss it, and therefore it becomes less important in the decision making process. And I love what you're saying, because you have to hire and fire in accordance with those values. And if you're not using those in your recruiting, I think it's a huge mistake.
Yeah. So one of the best ways that I've seen them come up from is, so a lot of times it'll be where people so for example, it depends on what size of company you are, right? And I don't know where they were created for this company, but someone doesn't create them like, we're going to go create them in a room, right? But a lot of times it's like in a company who maybe is at a smaller stage might go, okay, what are the behaviors that we really are living by? And we agree upon those behaviors. And maybe then they make a phrase around them where it's like, we're, always going to choose disruption first. I mean, I don't know, it could be something around that, right? But then there's like certain behaviors that they can actually live by underneath. But the thing is that there's probably agreement around it, but not everyone under the whole sun. But the thing is that there is a group in the beginning that it's like their culture was built on it in the beginning. So I don't know like how they decided theirs in the beginning, but probably had some type of theme around them. So
the Team Performance Podcast. I'll give you the story from Ed.
Yeah, I'd love to know
at the Salt Lake Organizing Committee. So Ed comes on, and of course this is so Ed Einen was the Senior Vice President of Human Resources and International Relations at the Salt Lake Organizing Committee for the 2002 Olympic Winter and Paralympic Winter Games. And he comes on not being a part of this industry previously, but being an HR executive in previous companies and so on. And, for the first little bit, he's just trying to learn. He's just absorbing things.
Yeah.
And they had an IOC Coordination Commission meeting, and there was someone there from Lillehammer, the Lillehammer 1994 Olympic Games, and he had dinner with them. And this person said, you just need to keep things really, really simple because it's hard for people to remember a lot of things. And so he went to the drawing board and he said, okay, for HR, our mission is going to be 4 words. Best games workforce ever. These 4 words guided everything that they did.
Yeah.
And if you talk to Ed himself, or you talk to Fraser Bullock, or all the other executives, and many of us as well who worked in those games, they will tell you that working that games was the pinnacle of their careers. And it all started from these 4 words. But they let these 4 words drive everything. All of the guiding principles that they created, all of the policies and procedures. All of the programs they put in place to retain talent and not let it leave, because the games end and everybody's looking for another job. So lots of people leave, they jump ship before the games happen. They put in a lot of things to try to keep people together. And I thought they did a marvelous job, but it all stemmed from that very simple statement that he came up with, which was best games workforce ever. That's our mission.
Oh, wow. Just simple. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, I suppose like a statement like that, then, you're not going to slack on talent, right? Because the talent has to fully be committed, to deliver, stay all the way through, all those types of things. So, yeah. How long were those jobs? Like, I mean, how long did it take you guys to prep, and like, how long did the whole process take?
Well, the games were awarded in 1995, and the games were held in 2002. So there's a 7-year period generally to stage an Olympic Games.
Yeah.
But when it starts, it's very, very, very small team. And that team is usually a very small core of finance and HR and accounting. Well, I said accounting and finance, HR, a little bit of IT, but not too much. And then some government relations, community relations people.
Yeah.
It's pretty, pretty small. And then they start looking at some of the long-term venue development. Yeah. And then over time it grows. So Ed Einen, who I'd mentioned, he joined the organizing committee in 1998. So it had been around for roughly 3 years. So he was there for 4 years of the 7 years. And that's when the majority of people are hired. Ed was employee number 60. And, in the end, you end up with a workforce of thousands and thousands of people. And, I'd say 2,000 to 3,000 full-time staff, plus another 6,000 or 7,000
what a cool opportunity.
Part-time staff, plus another 26,000 volunteers. And then there's thousands of contractors aside from that. But, he was employee number 60.
That's going to happen again though, right, Christian?
Hopefully we get him again. But this podcast is not about the Olympic Games. Let's get back to our HR stuff. Games are fun. I mean, I can talk about those all day, but I want to be conscious of your time here, Theresa.
That would be cool.
So
I know Spencer's got questions. Spencer?
Well, those were great comments, Christian. And think about, you just talked about some of the things that you do to help rectify the problems within companies. But so creating values, fixing HR, marketing the positions, not just telling the story of your company. Those are some of the things I heard you say that HR can do to recruit better talent. What else can a company do to attract the best and keep the best talent?
I'm a huge fan of employer referral. I'm kind of a freak on it, just so you know. I'm kind of weird about it. I've done it at 3 different companies. And actually the company where I saved $1 million, which we were hiring .NET developers. And that was a really tough time to hire 13 to 15. We did it mainly through employer referral. We started with the 25% hire of employer referral, which honestly, most companies would be like, that's great. We went to 75% employer referral. And we held it there. And, and I always, this is kind of funny. I always say employer referral programs don't work. Employer referral cultures do. And, I really didn't realize. I was like, I did employer referral at CPG company I was at before too. I went in there and I was like, because one of the departments I had, which is was actually, I supported finance. There was 1,300 people in finance, and I supported one department, which was the funnel for accounting and finance internal. And I was also head of the finance development program, which was one of the top 20 finance development programs in the country. And I did support one of the head guys, one of the executives who was known to be super, super difficult. And the recruiting manager came to me, literally took me out to lunch. 2 weeks after I got there, she goes, you gotta lower this guy's bar. His bar is way too low or too high. I was like, he's like the executive, like a recruiter. Come on, man. Right. So it's funny because they only had a head count of 36. Right. But they'd never been over 31, 32. So we did this. I go, well, if you're not an employee referral, because I'd given away a Harley at my last place, but that's only $20,000. That's not really a big deal. Right. But anyways, I said, she goes, yeah, we've done that. She goes, it doesn't work. I said, what'd you do? We sent out an email. I was like, is that an email? I'm like, and honestly, many, many people think that employee referral doesn't work. And here's the deal. It's 50%, employee referrals come in 50% faster, 25% more profit. Okay. Just, 25% more profit. There's all these studies that show, better retention, all these different factors. By the way, just so you know, you can actually improve diversity through employee referral because I can pay for diversity. I can give bonuses based on diversity, and actually I can teach people about diversity because I can tell them, it's like, okay, we really want to improve our diversity. You can actually use it as a positive adversity culture thing. So based on the ConAgra thing, we actually got staff for the first time ever in this department and created an employee referral culture. And all we did was have like a contest between departments, like giving away iPads and stuff. It was kind of silly.
Where's the Harley giveaway? I want to know what
that. So that was a construction company, and I don't have my stats from that company, to be honest with you. And that was a really tough one. So we were in a community, very small town, Iowa. We were over 50%. They lived on the road. They were electricians. Like Northwest Iowa, electricians that traveled for a living. And but here's the deal,
tough to recruit for something like that.
Oh yeah, like the president came to me, Theresa, did you find a trap door of electricians? I'm like, eh. But actually we called it Join the Ride, JTR. And we had these cool shirts made black with like these orange. People like wear them all the time, right? But the funny thing is that I think I saw someone wear one not too long ago. It was hilarious. Like this is like years ago, over 10 years ago. But then this is actually even funnier. Then I had because here's the other thing about employee referral. You make a culture of it. So obviously do fun with a purpose. A lot of HR people are like, let's have a pizza party for what? Like have fun with a purpose is what I say. And we actually even have to, so one of the things is I do a lot of spontaneous things with employee referral, right? And one of the things we did after that is because we did that for one company, there was 5 different companies. And after that we did, what do we call it? A full hand, like a deck card. Because what do guys do? Because, they're mostly guys. They like to drink beer and play cards. So we did a full deck, a full hand or something. It's like a card thing. And we had all of our presidents in a bar, which is kind of a big deal in a dry community. And we had them playing cards, And by the way, this
full house. You had a full house.
I don't know. Beer. Yeah, whatever. I don't know. But at the end of the day, it's about creating a culture. And helping people understand one of the big things about employee referral is one, you don't just pay for hires, you pay for quality of candidates. So like if someone gives you a quality candidate and they don't get hired, they got a key to be in the bucket for the Harley, right? Because at the end of the day, you want to reward them for engagement. And then the other thing is I did a lot of spontaneous things. Like Black Friday, I'm like, hey, this is for a different company. On Black Friday, I'm like, okay, anyone that gets a video interview by Thursday gets $250 to blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I get like 3 interviews for like this one position. So it's like, it's a culture. And I think, recruiters would rather just call me up and go, hey, Theresa, find this job and pay me $50,000. And I'm like, so here's the deal about culture. Why wouldn't you want to spend time up front building your employee referral culture, which will increase your culture, like literally culture of your company, where they can have fun, you know what I mean? And you're going to get actual results of better profit, better retention rates, and you're going to save money for your company.
The Team Performance Podcast.
So I have a question about that. So how do you handle the fact that some employees are threatened by new talent coming in, or maybe they don't want the best talent coming in because that might make them look bad or put pressure on them?
I've never had that. I've never had that. Oh my gosh. So, here's the deal. The other thing is right now why on earth would any company not be focused on employee referral right now? If people are unemployed right now, I want to help you find a job, Spencer. Oh my gosh. Like I feel for people not having a job. The other thing is that people are like, oh my God, they're going to refer their buddy who's a dink, right? Here's the deal. It's my job as an employer to assess the candidate. And I'm not super weird as a leader going, I'd rather, so honestly, I preach this. And I know that not everyone's going to be a referral person. Like I'm a talker, right? Teresa's going to be the type of person that refers.
Christian, did you guess that she's a talker?
I had a slight hint. I wasn't sure.
Okay,
I love it, Theresa.
Oh, me too. Absolutely.
If you're listening to this and you don't know Theresa, you got to go to her website and watch her videos. She does amazing videos. They're so much fun, but keep going.
Okay, so here's the deal though. So one, we know that not everyone's going to refer people. We get that. But amazing enough, so at ConAgra, I had a tax director. She worked at a Big Four. She had never referred anyone. We rolled out employee referral. This gal she came from the Big Four. She started referring people because we had never really talked about employee referral. We had sent out emails, but it doesn't engage with them. And one of the things that's important about employee referral as well is you have to help people go, hey, I'm hiring a developer, and here's the type of titles they may be in. By the way, when you're out, just having lunch with friends, maybe your friend has a son that might be looking for a job or might not be happy. So it's helping them make connections. And guess what? They want to help their friends' kids, or maybe they have a friend that lives out east and they want to bring their kids back home. So it's helping people make connections, and that's what people don't understand. So I'm big on building employee referral cultures. And so many people think, well, employee referral doesn't work. I go, well, how did you roll it out?
So it truly is about creating culture and shifting it, the whole HR mindset from just, putting out a job description. And really what I'm hearing you say is a lot of organizations are just lazy because they have this process and they've got to change it. And they've got to involve the entire team. Is that what I'm hearing?
And here's the deal. It can impact the culture. Like I would have people stop me in the hallway, be like, oh my God, Theresa, I got this person. And so, it is part of my personality, but you know what? I'm not the only one driving it. Like, I think that what companies need to understand, one, I can find you a Theresa, and two, Theresa can teach other people to drive these cultures. Don't assume that, I'm not that good. There are other people out there.
I just have one last question. I'm sure Christian will have one, but at the beginning you said, right now, candidates are frustrated. The only thing I can imagine is that I've talked to some recruiter, one in the healthcare industry that had like 18,000 applicants right now. So I would imagine some of it it's tough to find a job right now. But what do you see as candidates being frustrated? What is the cause of that?
Yeah, it's too bad. So the cause, I believe, is a couple things. So there are companies, so I think there are recruiters that aren't so good. And then there is the other problem is companies are not setting their recruiters up for success. Recruiters have too many jobs on their plate. They are overwhelmed. Also, they don't have their applicant tracking systems set up appropriately. The other issue that is happening is there are actually companies that will actually go apply for me and just apply for every job out there. And then they will make me pay $10,000 if they get me hired. So I have an SVP job in IT open, and I get people that apply for a customer service job applying for that job. Really? So here's the deal. Applicants are feeding their own problem. It's just it's a crap show. But I do think that, so it's kind of a self-feeding issue, but I do think that, I think it's a branding issue for some companies. It's going to come back to bite them. So, if I'm a company and I'm trying to fill jobs, it's like, I have to decide, am I okay with the brand that I'm portraying to my candidates right now? Because, hey, company, your recruiters, you got to really think about this. These candidates are just it's like candidates I hope most recruiters, not all of them, maybe 50% of the recruiters really do want to serve you. But because like, how hard would it be to reply to me? It's actually really hard when you have 1,000 candidates per job and I have 40 to 80 jobs. Actually, it's really hard, to be honest with you.
So your process is to streamline that and make sure that you eliminate a lot of those extraneous applicants so that you can be more efficient and do the best work for your clients.
And here's the other thing is that I think that companies have to decide how many jobs can a recruiter handle. One, companies, are those jobs really open? Here's the other issue candidates are frustrated with. Jobs have been open since January. Are they really freaking open? So it's like companies go through those jobs and close them out. But on the other hand, Indeed and some of these sites keep aggregating them for months. I mean, it's like a layered sandwich issue. It
seems
really,
like in today's hiring market, that should not be happening.
I know but I think ultimately employers look at, what's in your control and what can you do?
Right.
It's like, am I representing my company the best? And so all I could is, if I was the hiring leader, and I was an employer, it's like, what can I do? And you have to self-reflect on that right now and decide, can I close out my job as soon as possible? But as an employer, I'm not closing that job until I fill it. You know why? Because I don't know if that person's going to show up.
The Team Performance Podcast.
Thank you so much for joining us today. It was a pleasure to have you.
Yeah, it was fun. So awesome. Good to meet you, Christian.
Very nice to meet you too, Theresa. Now, if people want to learn more about the work that you're doing and how you might be able to help them, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Yeah, so I'm on www.talentco.inc.com, but I'm very active on LinkedIn. So I do a lot of video. And so I would love to have them interact with me there. And I do a little bit different type of video. So come visit me there as well.
Absolutely. How about you, Spencer?
They're a lot of fun. Thank you, Christian. Spencer Horn, contact me at spencer@altiumleadership.com. That's my email, or visit altiumleadership.com website. And Christian, how can we find you?
You can find me at cnapier@gp4.com. That's gpfour.com, or my website, gp4.com. Well, Theresa, thank you again for joining us. Spencer, thank you again for introducing us. Listeners, please like and subscribe to our podcast, and we'll see you again next week.